Hey, you're back with the Get Out Deck Guy. I'm Steve Rhode, the old, authentic, original Get Out Deck Guy. And with me, as always, is Damon Day, the new Get Out Deck Guy. Damon, say hello.
What's up?
That's good.
Always something.
How many times have we heard this advice? Just pay more than the damn minimum and you'll get out of debt. Now, it sounds logical. We've been through it 1,000 times. We've all heard it. It sounds responsible, and for someone with $5,000 in credit card debt, it's probably perfectly fine advice. But if you don't have $5,000 in credit card debt, you got more like 80 or more, at that level, just pay more than the minimum isn't a strategy. It's it's a slow motion disaster. And we're going to show you why today. But first, I want to jump into Damon. I've been getting back into following the news a little bit. The debt news and posting articles about it.
Yeah, the old Get Out of Debt Guy has been kind of resurrected as of late. I've noticed there's been more actual articles.
Yeah,
that you're writing. You took a sabbatical for a couple of years.
Well, I did. Everybody needs a break. And what I'm most interested in are stories that really make a difference for the average person. And so that's what I've been following. So I've been on a posting spree. But let me just cover kind of if anybody wants to stay in tune with what's happening on a weekday basis, then go to getoutofdebt.org and subscribe to the newsletter, the email that comes out, and you'll have links to all the stories.
Yeah, and if you haven't been there recently, Steve's recently redesigned the whole site and modernized it, and it looks nice and clean and good. Not that it didn't look good before, but it looks really good. So if you haven't been there for a while, head back on over there. It's looking nice. I like it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that because I have a massive development team that manages the site and has a staff of 1, including me.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be acknowledged for all the hard work I did over Christmas.
It's a hefty payroll.
Oh, yeah. And I work for free too. So let me just go through a couple of these stories. There's a new student loan payment plan that's coming out in July. It's called the WRAP plan. And, it's hard to get excited about student loan repayment stuff because it feels like we're trying to push a piece of string up a hill, right? It's always changing. And so the best I can suggest to people is that, they read the article if they have student loans and just kind of familiarize themselves. But when it comes to student loan plans, July seems like 5 years off. Right?
Yeah.
Everything
but
changes.
It's going to come quick.
Yeah. Probably a story that was not surprising, but it certainly concerned me was my post that I did on 24% of Americans have zero emergency savings. And that kind of gets back into what we were talking before about the K-shaped economy where, half the people are doing as well or better and half the people are sinking. So those that are sinking are really, really sinking fast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting tight out there, Steve.
It is.
And I know it's going to come no surprise that I'm going to say this, but a good way to keep up if you're falling behind is to get the hell out of debt.
Right.
Well, you can get rid of their debt payments. I mean, and I'm not talking about even just unsecured loans. I mean, this is kind of like the new way.
Yeah.
If you're struggling income wise, those guys, if you're only making $300,000 a year,
right? Only
that's become the new struggle. I feel like $250,000 a year. It's like the new struggle.
Right.
Like I'm barely holding on.
That's middle class.
Yeah, it's getting crazy. But sit down and just kind of look at the money that goes, because it's almost never about the money that comes in. It's almost always about how much of it is going out, because you hear stories all the time of, people that were teachers their whole lives and, retired with over $1 million in retirement, making, for most of their careers, $50,000, $60,000.
Right.
So it's not about so much what you're making. It's about what you're able to save. And when you start breaking it down, and for sure, credit card payments, personal loans, high interest debt, any of that stuff, we got to get rid of it. You got to get rid of that. But even, the car payments. I mean, we're on the 7-year car loans now are no big deal. And $800 a month, $900 a month, $1,000 a month. Because freaking, trucks are $100,000. Like, what? What's behind door number one? A mortgage. Oh, wait, no, it's a truck, right? Yeah. So we got to also get back to that point where okay, how do we get rid of these car payments? How do we keep these cars a lot longer? How are we buying used cars? I know these are not things that we can change overnight, but these are things that you really need to start looking at. And if you start adding up how much you're paying every month in unsecured debt and vehicles, for many of you listening, it's probably $3,000, $4,000 a month.
It's unbelievable.
And if we can just get rid of that, then you can at least survive on $250,000 a year.
That car topic is interesting because just this weekend coming up, we're picking up a new car, but it's the first time that we've ever leased a car. And let me tell you why. It might not make sense for anybody else, but maybe me.
Nobody doing gig work to make ends meet. No, don't lease a car.
No, that's true. You can't do it as part of the lease. But we don't drive that many miles every year. And what I have noticed since we've been driving Teslas, it doesn't have anything to do really with a Tesla, but the new vehicles are so technology intensive, so computer intensive. Like even the Tesla that you have, Damon, you look at the cameras and the computer and stuff.
It feels like a dinosaur now, and it's only 5 years old.
Right. And so if somebody got a 6-year loan or 8 or whatever, there's a real concern also that car, any car, might not be supported in the future by a manufacturer just simply because of the technology that's in it. So we're actually trading in a car that we purchased and for a lease because the car we're trading in is 2021, I believe. And so the technology, we can already tell it's getting behind the curve. But the lease is about $60 more a month than what the car payment was. But what am I going to have at the end of that car payment? I'm going to have a car that is outdated technologically and is going to have significantly less value. So, yeah, I agree. A lease is just renting a car. I agree. But
you're also in a different place in your life than some of our listeners are.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying for me, that made sense.
But, Teslas are basically cell phones with wheels.
Absolutely.
Right? So that argument makes a lot of sense because most people aren't going to keep an iPhone for 10 years.
No,
right? Just because of the technology. It's a lot slower. It's clunkier. Like I noticed major differences when I was visiting you back east, last year?
Yeah.
And we went for a ride in your Tesla and you put on the full self-driving.
Yeah, it just drove.
And I was like, this is so much better than the full self-driving in my Tesla. I understand we're talking about first world problems here.
Yeah.
But I didn't notice, and I don't want to say how bad my self-driving was, but compared to the self-driving that Steve had, what is your Tesla, 24?
24, yeah.
Yeah, mine's a 20, his is a 24. It's the difference in those 4 years, and it's not like I can just update the software because it's a hardware issue. He's got newer hardware, better cameras, a better computer in his car than I have in mine, so it's a lot clunkier. It still works fine, but it's not butter smooth like Steve's was. And I left Steve's house going, now I got to buy a new Tesla.
Well, I think the cheapest lease payment on the entry-level Model Y is $479.
Yeah, well, I definitely can't lease because between my wife and I, between the gig stuff I do part-time for our Penny Stupid channel to help people make more money, and my wife driving the kids, school and sports and all that, we put 3,500, 4,000 miles plus.
Right. It wouldn't work for you. And if you go over the lease mileage, it's 25 cents a mile. So,
Oh yeah. I mean, we put 40,000 plus miles a year on that. So that Tesla, I've got almost 170,000 miles on that Tesla now.
yeah.
So what I'm going to eventually do fairly quickly, probably in the next, I don't know, maybe 2 years, maybe I'll probably just give that one to my son,
Yeah.
and then I'll get a newer one. I want a 2026, and I'm going to
Mhm.
wait till I want to be smart about it, Steve. I'm going
Right.
to wait till I can get a used 2026 and save about $15,000 to $20,000 on a perfectly good, still fairly new car.
Right. I agree with you. Now, there's such a huge difference. One of my first vehicles was a 1969 VW bus. And Bill Cosby used to have a joke. He would say, if the fan belt breaks, use a rubber band. And he was right. I mean, there was, no electronics and computers and all this other stuff. And you could actually work on it and do something. But
yeah,
I can't work anymore on these cars.
Well, that's why a lot of people like to have the older cars, and because they want to have a car for 10, 15 years. It's, financially prudent. It's cars that they can work on. That's one of the downsides to these. It's not just Teslas, just new modern cars in general. They get so complicated and technologically advanced that they're very expensive to repair when they do break down.
Yep.
And it's hard to keep them longer term because of that advanced technology. And now you've got this expensive car that's hard to repair. And like you said, maybe not even supported with all the computer gizmos and technology that they have on it. So a lot of people just say, screw that, I'll take my 2005 Chevy truck and drive that till the wheels fall off.
Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not.
So the
prudent.
last story I wanted to mention was 22% of Americans believe they'll never escape credit card debt. It was a post I did this week. But here's what surprises me about that, Damon, is because for listeners of the podcast, they know that almost 100% of our listeners can escape credit card debt. All they have to do is listen, follow, and maybe reach out to you, have a free conversation. They can reach you at damonday.com, DAMONDAY.com, and schedule an appointment to talk to Damon. All right.
Yeah, if you're open to strategies that don't involve just paying more than the minimum,
Right.
And I'm not saying that strategy can't work. For some of you, that may work fine, but for many of you, that is not a strategy that's going to lead to success.
Well, why don't you talk about the minimum payment trap with real numbers? And let's tell people how bad this can be.
All right. Well, I mean, you used $80,000.
Yeah.
So you have $80,000 in credit card debt, which, I mean, my average client is over 6 figures in credit card debt now. So 80,000, when we started doing this 20 years ago,
yeah, that was a lot.
$80,000 would be like, oh my gosh, that's how did that happen?
Now it's like, now please.
Yeah. Now it's like, well, I drank too much during December and now I got $80,000 in debt.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you found yourself $80,000 in debt. Doesn't matter how you got there. Most of it is because of inflation for many of us. But let's just say it's $80,000.
Let me interrupt you for a second. I just want people to understand that it doesn't matter what the number is. It's just a number. So we're not judging you by whatever the number is, and you shouldn't let anyone else judge you. It's just a number. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you start running through these numbers, and you figure 22%. That's just the numbers that we picked. And most people have credit cards that are higher interest than that, especially with the Fed rates jumping up. A lot of you look at your statement, you might be surprised to see that you're paying over 30% interest on credit cards right now. So if you take a typical minimum payment, very low end is 2% of the balance of what you're going to pay every month. Some credit cards are 2.5%, even 3%. But if we use 2, that's $1,600 a month that you're paying every month for the privilege of carrying this $80,000 in debt. Yeah. So if you try to pay that off, paying just the minimum payments, you've all heard this before, especially if you've called a credit counseling program. They're famous for telling you, how many, 300 years it's going to take you to pay this off or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you paid the minimums, it'll take you 25 to 30 years in most cases.
And that's if you don't add on to it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Assuming you never charge that card again, but you're going to end up paying over $180,000 in that scenario. So then you say, okay, well, I'm going to eat beans and rice. I'm going to get 5 roommates into my house and I'm going to, Dave Ramsey my way out of this thing. and everything in my life is going to be perfect. I'm never going to dip back onto it. Everything's going to be great. So instead of paying the minimum of $1,600, I'm going to throw an extra $900 on that. I'm going to pay $2,500 a month because I want to get out of this 80 grand in credit card debt. So now it's still going to take you 4 years. Now I would agree 4 years is a hell of a lot better than 25 or 30, but you're still going to end up paying $40,000 in interest. So you're going to end up paying 120 grand. That's better than 180. But again, this assumes everything in your life is perfect. Over the next 4 years, the cost of food doesn't go up, car doesn't break down, you don't have any, health issues, you don't have anything happen in your life over the next 4 years that you don't have already planned for in your budget that you realistically can stick to over the next 4 years, which most people can't. Things come up, life is life. So, that's 120 grand you took to pay that off. And that just assumes everything is perfect. Now, can that work? Yes, that can work. If you're going to be a betting man, are you going to put all your money on that working?
I'm not.
Probably not. The statistics say you're likely to fail, and you don't just fail straight up. You don't just like everything's great, boom, it's over. It's one of those 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing, or 3 steps back, where you start doing the things, you're working good, you're feeling positive, and then something happens, boom, got to go back on a credit card.
Yep.
Right? And then so you do that like ebb and flow, and then 2 years into it, you're going, oh my gosh, I've been killing myself. I've been doing all this stuff, and I still owe $76,000. And it's been 2 years, and I've been throwing $2,500 a month at this thing. And then you start to get discouraged, and then you eventually just give up, right? And that's why people carry this debt, and that's why Steve's article, what did you say? What was the percentage of people that feel like they're never going to get out of credit card debt?
22%.
22%. Well, that's why, because they've probably tried multiple times and it never works out. So we have to start, broadening our horizons on the options that are available and being more open-minded to trying things that are more likely to work.
I am actually, as you're talking, calculating, if you put that $2,500 into an investment, what it would be.
It would be a lot more than $120,000 in debt. This would be a positive number.
At age 65, at 8%.
Steve's like, I expected you to talk longer.
I did. I was not prepared for. All right. So, what did we say? If you'd pay off, it'd take about $120,000 to pay off that 80 grand
in 4 years.
In 4 years. So
$2,500.
If instead, like you talked to Damon and you came up with an alternative plan, and you didn't have to do that $2,500 a month, if you just put it in, now you would have over almost $1 million by the time you went to retire.
Well, what age were you assuming?
45.
If you were 45. Okay, yeah, that's important to know.
Yeah.
Because some guy's like, well, I'm 60 now, so I'll have $1 million when I retire at 65.
No, and isn't it surprising the number of people that call you and contact you that are nearing the end of retirement?
No retirement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't have any. Because they listened to Dave Ramsey for 30 years and just kept carrying the balances because it never quite worked out. And they just kept carrying the balances, or they'd have periods where they would get out of debt, but then they go back into debt. And okay, this Dave Ramsey, let's do this. And then they're getting 45, 50, 55, 60. We have no retirement. But we got this $100,000 in credit card debt. And it's like, okay, I mean, it's never too late to start, of course,
right.
But the sooner we start to address it in a realistic way, the better.
Yeah, and you can go from $80,000 in credit card debt to zero within this year. There's no magic. There's no, pill to take or wand to wave or anything else. It's just about having a realistic plan by understanding what your options are. Now,
yeah, and sometimes bankruptcy is a realistic plan. It's not the only plan, and I know people are afraid of that, but don't be afraid of something because you haven't investigated it or you don't fully understand it. That's not a good reason to avoid something or be afraid of it. If you research it and you understand it and there's something you don't like about it, fine, great. Now we know why we're saying no. But sometimes bankruptcy is a real solution. Sometimes it totally sucks.
Right.
We have to figure out what situation you're in.
Well, it's like, one of the stories I posted this week was the company that owns Saks Fifth Avenue, Neiman Marcus, and Bergdorf Goodman, all luxury stores, filed bankruptcy, and the stock market rewarded them for it because
Better call
dealt with
Saul.
it. Yeah.
Saul Goodman.
They dealt with, their financial situation instead of letting it fester. And that is a good thing. So, what did they do right? They recognized the math wasn't working. They stopped throwing good money after bad. They used legal protections for their situation, and they got a fresh start to move forward. And yet,
yeah,
God, Damon, we see all the time. People just keep staying in the same cesspool, expecting a different result. We need a plan.
Yeah. Yeah, in business these days, they're calling it strategic deleveraging, which is a euphemism for bankruptcy. But, it sounds like we're smart, right? And they are. Like, okay, this is not working. Let's strategically deleverage our balance sheet, which means get rid of the debt, and then it will look a lot nicer and we can do better moving forward, right? Things
Absolutely.
change, life changes, circumstances change. In business, same as in personal lives, right? Sometimes you're at a point where you're just like, okay, we need to pump the brakes on this. It's not working. We need to take a page out of the business book, and we're going to strategically deleverage our personal finances and do better moving forward.
Yeah, why shouldn't that be rewarded?
I know.
So let's talk about the high income trap. Here's a cruel irony for people who make a lot of money or make good money, whatever you want to call it. You can make those big payments, sure. But your lifestyle is built around your income. So every month you don't pay extra becomes another missed opportunity. Every month you do pay extra, well, then you end up feeling deprived and resentful. And so you don't continue doing that. The math is punishing. $30,000 a year towards debt feels like sacrifice. And let's be honest, it barely moves the needle. And meanwhile, like you said, Damon, life just keeps effing happening. And soon you might do great for 21 months, and then something happens and the crack begins to form. And now you're back to where you started from. I can't tell you the number of people I've talked to over the years. Like you have said before, what's this debt from? Oh, that was from my previous consolidation.
Yeah. Yeah. The last time I tried to fix it, that's carried over. Yeah, and I see that a lot with clients, especially my high earning clients.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost harder to make the decision when you can what you assume you can afford the payments, right? When you're just looking on paper and how much is coming in every month, how much is going out. Okay, I have enough to cover the payments, right? But maybe there's no investments being made, no retirement savings, any of that stuff, and so it's harder to pull the trigger on a solution, especially if that solution doesn't sound fun, when they're able to keep up the status quo of minimum payments, even if that's $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, versus the clients that come to me and they're already behind a month or two, right? And they're behind because they got to the point where it's like, I'm either going to pay my mortgage or I'm going to pay my credit card, but I can't pay both this month.
Yeah, something got their attention.
So they choose the mortgage. Right. Now, and so now for those people, it's almost the silver lining, I would say, because the decision has already been made for them. Because now they're not so much as worried, what about my credit score? I'm already 2 months behind. My credit score already took a hit. Now my credit score is 550. Okay, well, I don't have to worry about that anymore. It's 550. What's done is done.
Right.
How do I fix this? Versus somebody that's been paying $3,000 a month, keeping the minimum payments, keeping the creditors happy, keeping the credit bureaus patting them on the back saying, you're doing such a good job. Keep going. They're like, oh, I got a 740 credit score and I've always had a 740 credit score and I don't want to hurt that. So, missing a couple of payments so I can negotiate a better deal on these credit cards doesn't sound good, or filing bankruptcy doesn't sound good. That's going to hurt my credit. No, and life's too expensive without a good credit score. It's like, hell, life's costing you $36,000 a year right now with a great credit score.
Yeah, that's what you're paying for it.
Sounds to me like a good credit score is just keeping you in debt, and it's very expensive.
Bergdorf, Neiman Marcus, and Saks Fifth Avenue, I think in that story, if I remember correctly, they had over 25,000 creditors.
Yeah. That's what you mentioned yesterday when we recorded this podcast the first time.
For the first time.
This is our second time through on this podcast. Yeah. It didn't work yesterday.
That's why it's late this week. And this one is so much better than yesterday's.
Well, we did a trial run. Maybe we should start doing a practice run every week.
Yeah, I just got PTSD because I looked at the timer. It was right about now the whole thing crapped out. All right, let's talk about what the credit card companies love. And what they love are people who pay the minimum payment every month. They don't care if you can afford it or not. They're just and you're only good as your last payment. We've talked before about, the person that was so afraid to miss a payment, Damon, that they just kept spending down the money that they had. And then when that was gone, guess what? They missed a payment.
Yeah. Well, when the circumstances force you to miss, it's almost like an easier choice versus when you're sitting there going, well, technically I could pay, but I have to pull that $1,000 out of my savings account, or I have to pull that $1,000 from my retirement. This one kills me. Do not pull money from your retirement until you know exactly what you're doing and have a plan for that.
With a plan, yeah.
It's so much better when you call me when you have a whole bunch of money in your retirement that you haven't tapped into yet. We have so many other options. Even if that option might even be bankruptcy, that money's protected. But unfortunately, a lot of clients, they don't find us or reach out until they've tried everything that they think is right or they have available, and they've got no savings and no retirement. And it's like, yeah, I've been pulling down from my 401k for the last 4 years, hoping this was going to get better, consolidating, trying to figure this out. And now all they've done was drain, $150,000 out of their 401k. And we still have debt to deal with and now tax issues to deal with because they took the money out of the 401k, caused a tax issue, and now they're even behind on that. So don't make any drastic moves without calling me first. I know that's a shameless plug, but
so it's good advice.
It's still good advice. Self-serving or not, it's still good advice. Just call me first. Let's talk it through before you do anything drastic.
Well, it's because nobody wants to admit this or say it to themselves, and nobody's going to say it to you. But you know that your situation may be beyond what willpower alone can solve.
Yeah.
Willing a better budget or willing more money or willing more DoorDash orders you can fill is not a solution. Because at high debt levels, what you need more is a different strategy, not more effort.
Yeah. Trying harder at the wrong approach just burns you out faster. Takes your money faster.
I know. I've been there too in my life, but you're doing whatever you can each month, just trying to get by. And at some point, enough is enough. Why did I just waste that last year?
Well, I share this story quite often, but I know the way our podcast works, a lot of our listeners just kind of stumble upon us and they're new listeners. But the story I tell about that client I had that called me and, we went through all the stuff and she, had good income and a lot of debt. It was over $250,000. And she just couldn't get past that idea of needing to be behind and taking the hit to her credit score. Because what made sense was to negotiate that debt. She was in a situation where she was not going to be able to pay it off.
Right.
And, we had that talk and then I never heard from her again. We did that one consult and I never heard from her. She told me I'm not ready to do that. So, okay, no problem. And I didn't hear from her for 10 years, literally 10 years out of the blue. I get an email one day. Hey, we talked 10 years ago. And I went back and pulled up my records and sure enough, there she was, had all my notes from the conversation from 10 years ago. And this was now about 5 years ago this happened, so the original conversation was 15 years ago. And she called me up and said, hey, I think you were right. I'm ready to listen now. So we got back on the phone again. And the only thing that had changed in her life after a decade was she was another $100,000 deeper in the hole. And she'd kept that debt current for a decade. She spent over $1 million just trying to, not ding her credit score and trying to pay that off in a traditional Dave Ramsey-esque way.
Mm-hmm.
And she finally just, everybody's got their own pace and their own timing. And it took her 10 years before she was like, okay, you know what? I'm willing to bite the bullet. And she ended up hiring me. We had her completely out of debt in less than 18 months. All of that debt gone, negotiated, done behind her. She even had a delinquent second mortgage back from the '08 crash on a house that she hadn't been in 10 years. We were able to get that settled too. So she went from carrying that debt for a decade with all the interest included to we did 10 years later what I suggested we do 10 years previous.
Yeah.
And we were done in 18 months. She could have had all that debt done a decade sooner.
So it was all
but
that
she
was,
wasn't ready. And that's okay.
8.5 years of wasted effort. But she needed to do that in order to be mentally ready to have a plan.
Yeah. So my big thing is just know what you're saying yes to, know what you're saying no to. Don't think about, bankruptcy, this big scary thing. And I heard this from my uncle's brother's, sister's mother. They tried that and that did this or whatever it is. Get good, solid information, figure out how it applies specifically to your situation, and then make a decision about whether it's a good strategy for you or not.
I mean, let's use that example that we used earlier. Let's say you're making good money and you're not at the penny stage in your budget. So one of the things you can do is you can actually strategically default. If you know what you're doing and you understand what it is and you know what the consequences are and you have a plan. So instead of spending that $2,500 a month forever, at least for the next 30 years while you're trying to limp along, pay off this thing, you could actually stop making the minimum payments, put it into a settlement fund, and you will have enough money accumulated that, like Damon said, you could actually settle that debt if you knew what the best deals were, and you could resolve it without bankruptcy.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's pros and cons to that strategy. Same thing. Don't jump into it without knowing who's packing your parachute.
Yeah.
Right? Like make sure you understand what you're doing before you. We're not saying, hey, I listened to these guys on the podcast and I just stopped paying my debts because they said to.
Not saying
I'm not saying blindly just stop paying without knowing specifically why and specifically what would happen if you don't make a payment. Right? I don't make the rules. The credit card companies make up the rules. So, this is their game. We're just winning at it.
That's right. Right. I mean, sure, there are trade-offs no matter what you do. If you're dealing with getting rid of your debt now to do better financially moving forward, you might have a temporary credit report hit. You might have some additional stress during the process. But actually, both of those things are so easy to deal with if you have the knowledge about what reality is instead of assuming and having fear. When you understand how the game is played, it's like, oh, child, no, we don't need to worry about that.
Yeah. And when you're in debt, there's always going to be stress. Even if you keep doing what you're doing, that's stressful. That's probably why you're listening to this podcast, because you're feeling stressed about having the debt and having to make the payment. So yeah, if you file bankruptcy, there's going to be some stress involved there, depending on, how you feel about it. Settlement, any kind of solution, not making a payment, that's going to involve stress, but everything is going to involve stress. So it's just a matter of understanding what makes the most sense and moving forward in, what's the best way to describe it? Moving forward in awareness rather than blind faith.
Yeah, and if you've all of a sudden you heard what we said and you think I need to contact some debt settlement companies, back the bus up, because they want to sell you one thing. And so if I have inadequately conveyed,
and usually very expensive.
Yeah. And if I have not done a good job conveying, the issue is not, don't pick the solution to get out of debt first. You need to have some guidance and wisdom and advice to pick the right solution based on your situation, because everybody is different.
Yeah. And knowing the right solution fixes the stress part.
Yeah.
Understanding what you're doing and why you're doing it goes a long way to alleviating stress.
Well, especially if they already know, you know what? You might get some collection notices. It's like, all right, Put it in the
Well,
box.
I don't want to get a collection notice. Fine. Well, you're going to
Keep
get a bill.
paying.
Just keep paying the bill.
Yeah.
Well, I can't afford to pay the bill. Okay.
All right.
Well, if you can't afford to pay it, we got to pick your poison here.
Yes, there's no magic wand. There's a path.
Yeah.
There's no magic wand.
Exactly.
All right. So last week we gave people homework and we told them to do the hard work of the January audit. Find out what your real numbers are, write them down, figure out what you actually owe and pay. And then we showed you why those numbers require a different approach than just whatever stuff Dave Ramsey is selling about budgeting and eating beans and rice to get out of debt. So this podcast is for people who really want to do better, want to find happiness, recognize that financial problems have nothing to do with personal failure, your value as a person, or anything else. It's just math wrapped in emotion. And if you're drowning, we want to show you exactly why conventional advice fails you.
So what are we doing next Thursday, Steve?
We're going to flip the script, I think.
Yeah, I thought you were doing that.
All right, well, next Thursday. Oh, shit, I got to edit something now.
Why? Leave it in. It's authentic, like us.
So next Thursday, we're going to show you why your income is actually your biggest asset in getting out of debt. Your income is not the problem. It's the solution. And we're going to show you how it's going to change how you see your situation.
Yeah. So if this episode made you feel seen, if you've tried to pay more than the minimum and watch the balance barely move, you need what's coming next. Subscribe so you don't miss it. This week, here's what I want you to do. I want you to run the numbers on your own debt. Go to a compound interest calculator. There's a ton of free ones out there. Just Google it, ChatGPT it, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Plug in the total debt you have, your interest rates, the various payment amounts. See how long it takes. Let the math speak for itself.
So you're not failing at debt payoff because you lack discipline. You're failing because you're using the wrong tool for the job. So Damon, next week, let's talk about finding the right tool. And I will see ya.
Peace.